It feels like home, home, home. It feels like home, home, home. It feels like home.
Hey there, welcome to Weldon Home. Today I have just been taking some time to reflect on some things that I'm thankful for. And as we head into Thanksgiving season, I just wanted to say my husband took my KitchenAid apart and fixed it top to bottom, gave me new gears because I actually broke one of the gears in it. And so I'm just so thankful for a husband who says, yes, I'll take care of the things that are around the house and do whatever needs to be done. And so today I can actually make some cookies. So today we're going to be making my very favorite chocolate chip cookies, and it's a recipe that I worked on for a long, long time, trying to whittle it down. My daughter and I used to have a business doing some cookies for our church's coffee shop. And so we took a lot of taste testing and a lot of recipe trial and experimentation to come up with this recipe, and I hope that you'll enjoy it. I'm also working on a mural in our kitchen right now, and so I'll probably show you some of the progress as we go along. But one of the things that I've been really impressed with is the idea that in the midst of all the chaos and all the news that we're getting lately, and it just seems like one blow after another, it's really hard to maintain some sense of normalcy and some sense of stability and just solace. And so my hope is that I can make our home a place of rest, a place of sanctuary, and a place that my family and my kids can be inspired and can feel safe and secure. And ultimately, our safety and security is in the Lord. But this scripture comes to mind as I've been doing this mural. I've been just thinking about this. It says, through wisdom, a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge, the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. And so that's my desire, really, is to try and just fill our home with things that inspire my kids to attain knowledge, to get to know God more and more, and that is where true wisdom is found. So anyway, right now on the stove, I've got some butter, and I'm trying to get it to brown. So come over and take a look at that. So there it is, starting to turn golden, and see how that butter is a golden color in there? That's what we're looking for. It's a really rich, nutty, golden brown, and it just adds a layer of depth to the overall recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and call that browned. I don't like it much browner than that because it starts to taste too nutty if I get it more brown than that. So that's about where I'm leaving it. Go ahead and turn that off. So the first thing you're going to need is 1.5 cups of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of white sugar. And I already have the brown sugar in my mixer, and there's the white sugar. And in the meantime, I am browning 2 sticks of butter. So 1 cup of butter, and I'm trying to get that brown. It'll probably take about 12 to 18 minutes to get it to brown. You want to go slow because you don't want to burn your butter. It is very, very, very quick. Once it starts to turn brown, it will go quickly. So what we're looking for is these solids to start to get just kind of a golden color, and stir it occasionally and keep stirring down all of the solid bits of the butter. And I've got it over a medium-high heat and just waiting for that to come. It's starting to get kind of a rich, deep yellow, but what I want it to be is just a totally golden color. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and crack my 2 eggs that I will need, and you always want to use room temperature everything. Room temperature eggs. If a recipe is calling for milk or anything like that, you want it to be room temperature if you're making cookies, unless it calls for otherwise. Sometimes you want to cut in cold butter, but unless it specifies that it wants it cold, everything is best off at room temperature because it emulsifies more readily. So what we need is 475 grams of flour. So the way that I do this, I always like to measure on a scale instead of by cups because you can really get off base if you're using cups. Good job, Luke. If it goes over, you can just grab a little bit out. here we are. So 475 grams of flour, and then to that, I'm going to add 25 grams of powdered milk. And this just adds another layer of creaminess to our cookie. And I think you can taste it. It tastes a little bit like malted milk, but not obviously not malted. So we've got that. And then I need to get 4 teaspoons of cornstarch and 2 teaspoons of soda. So in this case, I do actually measure my dry ingredients separately. I don't always, but there are so many little things in here. This is a more complicated recipe than a lot of chocolate chip cookies, but you'll see the texture and the flavor of this cookie just kind of blows away most, I think, and I think you'll agree. So there's 4 teaspoons of cornstarch. And I need to get 2 teaspoons of soda. Again, our soda here is like super lumpy. So just trying to get a couple of teaspoons, and I'll just put it in my hand so that we don't have big lumps, because I'm not going to actually sift that. There we go. So then I just give it a little stir with my hands. And that is good. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my beautifully browned, just barely golden butter. See how beautiful that is? Golden, golden butter. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my sugar mixture here. You want to make sure and get every last little bit of that brown butter. So use a spatula and get all the little bits out, because every tiny little speck of that adds to the flavor, and I don't think you want to miss any of it. And because we browned this butter, we lost a little bit of its mass in evaporation, and so I'm going to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of cream to this, just to get back the original volume that I had with the butter. So I'll do that. And we'll go 1, 2. And then using your paddle attachment, you want to cream that together. So thankful to have my mixer back working. It was out of operation for several days, and that's too long. So go ahead and get this going and cream it until it is light and fluffy, and then I'll add my eggs. And at this point, what I'm looking for is really to just begin to dissolve some of the sugar, and then when I add the eggs back in, we're looking for that emulsified texture that turns really nice and light colored. So now that that's starting to come together, I'm just going to add these eggs in one at a time. 1 egg, and make sure that gets fully mixed in, and you can see how that immediately changes the consistency already. And then we'll add that second egg, and you can see it almost immediately gets lighter. We're going to wait about 2 to 3 minutes for that to really, really emulsify. So you can see how emulsified that all is. And to that mixture, I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 teaspoons of hot ristretto coffee. We have a little Nespresso coffee maker, and that's how I make espresso. but you could add instant espresso if you don't have an espresso maker. So I forgot to add salt, which is an essential ingredient. So I'm going to do a heaping teaspoon of salt to my dry mixture, and then I'm going to go ahead and add all of that to my wet mixture. But I wanted to show you, this is how I keep my chocolate chip cookie dough. I age it for 3 days in the fridge, and then I keep it in the freezer for a time when we have people coming over. And that way I have ready to go cookie dough all the time. So let me add in this dry to the wet all at once. Just add that all the way in. All of that good stuff. And turn it on low. I have made the mistake of going high before, and the flour will go everywhere. So just a little at a time till that flour begins to hold in there. And my husband and I just celebrated our 27th wedding anniversary, so these are the beautiful flowers that he gave to me. So now to this, before it's fully incorporated, I'll just show you real quick, because you don't want to overmix your dough. You cannot overmix the time that you're doing the butter and the sugar together, but once you get your flour in there, you want to be really careful that you don't get it overmixed. So it's going to make sure and get all the way down to the bottom so that there's no unmixed bits down there. There we go. And now, see in there, it's not totally mixed. And now to that, I'm going to add 2.5 cups of chocolate chunks. And this is all milk chocolate, but you can do a combination. Lots of times I do a combination of milk and dark chocolate. And I like to cut up the Trader Joe's Pound Plus bars. That is my favorite chocolate. It is creamy and delicious. I do love Trader Joe's. In fact, we have to drive about an hour to get to one. So that should let you know how much I love the Trader Joe's stuff. There we go. There we go. Just get that incorporated. That's good. So this batch is going to be the batch that I now age in the fridge for 3 days. So I use this scoop, which is a very old-fashioned ice cream scoop, and it's probably about a 1/4 cup. So it's a great big scoop. It makes massive cookies, but that's how I like them, because even if I don't eat the whole cookie, a lot of times I'll cut it into 4 pieces. The outside is really crunchy, crispy, but the inside is gooey and doughy, and that's how I really like my cookies. So I do this, and then I'll show you the baked ones, and right when they're still hot out of the oven, I like to put some M&Ms on them, so I'll show you that too, because that's what makes them doubly special. So one of the advantages of measuring out your dry ingredients is that you get a consistent result every time. I find that if you don't measure out your dry ingredients, sometimes you'll have a really loose cookie that can spread a lot, and sometimes you'll have a cookie that is nice and firm. It's all in the measurement of your flour usually. Your flour is so subjective, especially if it's been packed in, or if it's been sitting a long time in your cupboard, it just packs itself down. But it's really important to have a good loose measurement. So if you don't have access to a scale, which I highly recommend getting, make sure that you loosen up your flour and loosen up your flour and then measure it with a knife on the top. Just slide the knife over the top of your measurement so that you have a really accurate measurement. But I really do recommend having a scale. So just make sure these are evenly spaced when you put them into the oven, and you want to use a Silpat liner or a greased pan, and go ahead and put it into a 375-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes. You want to pull them before they look really, really done. So just so that it looks dry on the surface. That's what I look for. Slightly golden on the edges and dry on the top, because I do like it to be really, really crispy on the outside but doughy on the inside. So that's how I like mine. If you like yours more done, you can leave them in a little longer, but I like them to just be golden around the edges and dry on the top. So as you can see, these look really still very doughy, but they do look dry on the top, and I'm going to go ahead and smack them on the counter. Follow it down, Luki. 1, 2, 3, bang. And while they're still very malleable, I'm going to take some M&Ms and just go around and get them M&M'd up. I like to not repeat my colors on the tops if I don't have to. I much prefer them to have multicolors. For whatever reason, all of the M&Ms seem to be blue or green, and I wish that they were more red, yellow, and orange, but you get what you get with M&Ms. They all taste good. I guess I'm just partial to those colors from flavors of other things like Skittles and Starburst.
Maybe you already used all the red ones and the orange ones and the yellow ones previously on other cookies, and that's why you don't have any more in the bin. That would make some sense as well.
We're almost down to the bottom. I'm almost out of my sea salt that's all flaky. I'm gonna have to get some more. But I also like to take just a tiny bit of flaked salt and